Please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. They call me quiet, polite, invisible. But what they don't realize is, I'm always watching. At the dinner parties, while they clink their champagne glasses and laugh at empty jokes, I'm already 3 conversations ahead. When they step into rooms they think are private, they don't know I've been there already, read what they left behind. Passwords, letters, photos, patterns. I'm the housekeeper, the nanny, the assistant. Whatever role you think is beneath your notice, that's where I thrive. I've seen the CEO stash cash in his wine cellar. I know the mayor's daughter isn't really at yoga on Thursdays. And I certainly know what the senator did to that intern 5 years ago in DC. But they don't know about me. Not really. Not the real me. And I've kept my secrets locked away for years, until one evening, one betrayal, and one terrible mistake forced me to do something I promised I never would. Let the world see exactly who I am. My name is Helen Ward. And for 3 years, I've worked at the Phillip estate. On paper, I'm house staff, the night cleaner. I come in after hours, scrub the already clean marble, fluff the pillows that no one has touched, and keep the grounds spotless. But what no one ever asked me was, why would a woman with 2 degrees and fluent in 4 languages want to mop floors? Because I'm not here to clean. I'm here to listen. My first day on the job, the estate's owner, Nathan Phillip, barely looked at me. Typical. A billionaire real estate mogul, Nathan was as cold as the glass walls in his mansion. But that was fine. I wasn't hired for eye contact. I was hired by someone else entirely. Or rather, I placed myself there. Because I needed to be inside this house. There was a moment, early on, when his wife, Marissa, spotted me adjusting a painting in the hallway. Her smile was polite, but empty. You're the new girl. Quiet one, huh? I just nodded. That's what they expected. But I had already discovered the safe behind that painting. And the spare key taped under the entryway table. And the password scrawled on the bottom of their daughter's iPad case. You'd be amazed what people hide in plain sight. Every week, the Phillips hosted the same rotating door of high society. Politicians, investors, media figures, the most powerful people in the city. And every week, I stood silently behind them, unnoticed. But I never forgot a single detail. Like how Councilman Jared always excused himself at exactly 9:17 to take a private call on the terrace. I found the messages. They weren't to his wife. Or how Ms. Callahan, the school board president, once forgot her briefcase in the study. It had a list of names she swore didn't exist. No one asked me questions. That was their first mistake. Because I had a secret too. One that, if revealed, could bring this entire mansion down. And for 3 years, I kept it buried. Until Nathan Phillip himself made the mistake of calling me into his office alone. It was that night, standing under the too bright chandelier with his smug voice echoing off the walls, that I realized. They thought they were untouchable. They forgot the most dangerous person in the room was the one they didn't even see. He sat behind that sleek mahogany desk like a king on his throne, Nathan Phillip in all his arrogant glory. I could smell the leather of his chair, the faint trace of scotch in his breath, and the stronger scent of entitlement in his voice. "Helen," he said, finally looking me in the eye for the first time in 3 years, "close the door." That was the moment I knew something had shifted. People like Nathan don't speak to people like me. Not unless they want something. Or unless they fear something. I closed the door slowly. Quietly. As if sealing in the danger. He motioned toward the chair across from him. I remained standing. "You've been with us a long time," he began. "Never late. Never a complaint. That's rare." I said nothing. I knew better than to interrupt a man who thought his voice was a gift to the world. "I need your help," he finally admitted, folding his hands in front of him. There it was. I blinked. Once. Twice. Neutral. "I found out there's a leak," he said. "Documents were taken. Sensitive ones. I don't want to point fingers, but you're the only one with night access to the lower floor." He was bluffing. The wine cellar wasn't just for bottles. It led to a hidden room beneath the east wing, what I called the vault. I'd seen what was inside it. I'd memorized the codes. That's where he kept everything too dangerous to lock in a filing cabinet. Bank transfers. Shady land deals. Blackmail files. And one particular folder, the one labeled with my sister's name. That's why I came to Philip in the first place. "You think I took something?" I asked, my voice low and steady. He smiled, and for the first time, it looked nervous. "No," he said, too quickly. "But you're observant. If someone came in through the back or hacked the security panel, you'd know. Right?" I stared at him, letting the silence stretch until he shifted in his chair. "I'll look into it," I finally said. He relaxed, tapping a pen against the desk. "Good. Keep this between us. You understand?" Oh, I understood. I left that office with my heart pounding, but not from fear. From excitement. Because the game had begun. Nathan thought I was a pawn. But he didn't realize I'd been moving pieces long before he ever sat down at the board. That night, I returned to the vault. I moved like a shadow, no cameras could see me. I'd disabled the motion sensor months ago. I unlocked the cellar door with the pin he never changed, 11/22, Maurice's birthday. Downstairs, behind rows of vintage Bordeaux, I opened the hidden wall panel and stepped inside. The air was cold and dry. The vault had a hum to it, like secrets trying to escape. I reached for the drawer labeled Personal, RW. That was my sister's initials. Renee Ward. She disappeared 7 years ago after working briefly for Nathan's company. No explanation. Nobody. Just gone. But the deeper I dug, the closer it all led to Philip. And now, the proof was in my hands. Until the lights flickered. Someone else was there. "Didn't expect to see you here," a voice said behind me. Familiar. Deep. I turned slowly. It was the driver. The one who never spoke unless spoken to. The one who always tipped his cap and kept his eyes on the road. He was holding a gun. But he wasn't aiming it at me. He said, "We don't have much time. They know you're getting too close." And just like that, The secrets I thought I knew. They were only the beginning. I stared at the driver, gun in hand, calm as ever. "You know who I am," I said, heart pounding, fingers clenched tight around the folder. "And you know about Renee?" He nodded. "Everyone who matters does." "Who are you?" He lowered the gun, glanced over his shoulder, and said, "Someone who owed her a debt. She saved me. Now I protect what's left of her." His words cracked open something inside me. For years, I'd been chasing shadows, staring at blurry CCTV footage, wondering if I was losing my mind for still believing Renee was alive, or had ever mattered to these people at all. But now I had proof. Now I had allies. The driver, Andrew, motioned for me to follow him through a narrow tunnel behind the vault. "They don't know this passage exists." "Not even Philip," he said. We climbed into the dark corridor, silent except for the echoes of our footsteps and the hum of power lines overhead. When we emerged, I realized we were in a forgotten wing of the estate, long abandoned after a fire decades ago. The wallpaper was peeling. The floor creaked. And on the far wall, scribbled into the old plaster, in frantic, looping handwriting, was my sister's name. Renee was here. They're watching. Trust no one. The words crawled across the wall like a desperate warning. "She was held here," Andrew whispered. "They thought they could make her disappear. They didn't expect her to keep fighting." I swallowed hard. Did she survive? He looked at me, his silence an answer. "Long enough to leave you this." From his coat pocket, he pulled a velvet pouch and handed it to me. I opened it slowly and pulled out a chain, Renee's necklace, the one she wore every day since she was 12. But now, embedded in the back of the locket, was a microdrive. My breath caught. Andrew said, before they locked her away, she hacked their records. Everything, deals, threats, deaths that weren't supposed to happen. She told me if anything happened to her, to find you and give you this. But it was too dangerous until now. I wanted to scream. Cry. Rage. But I couldn't afford the luxury of emotion. Not yet. "How do we bring them down?" I asked. He looked at me with a haunted smile. "That's the thing about secrets. Once they're out, they can't be buried again. But we need one more piece." The judge. He signed off on her institutionalization illegally. My spine went stiff. I remembered his name from the file, Judge Halford Keyes. An old friend of Nathan's. "Where is he?" Andrew hesitated. "He retired. Moved upstate. Doesn't take visitors." "He'll take me," I said. "He owes my sister an answer. And I'm going to collect." I gripped the necklace tightly, its cold metal grounding me. They thought Renee's memory would rot in silence. They were wrong. I didn't tell Andrew where I was going. Not because I didn't trust him, but because if this went sideways, I wanted the danger to fall on me alone. The drive to Judge Halford Keyes' estate took 3 hours and 2 nerve-wracking stops to make sure I wasn't being followed. I wore Renee's necklace beneath my coat, the locket now containing the microdrive that held the truth. The truth they killed to keep hidden. Judge Keyes lived in a sprawling colonial house tucked deep in the woods, surrounded by rusting wrought iron gates and towering pine trees that seemed to shiver even without wind. A house that looked like it had seen too much and said too little. I walked up to the door, rang the bell, and waited. A tall, gaunt man opened it. Even age hadn't softened his face. He still looked like a man used to delivering sentences, not receiving them. "Yes?" he asked, frowning at me over wire-rimmed glasses. "I'm Helen Price," I said. His eyes flickered. "You don't know me, but you knew my sister. Renee." That made him freeze. "You need to leave," he said, trying to close the door. But I wedged my foot in. "You called her unstable. You signed her life away like a receipt. You knew what Nathan Phillip was doing, and you helped him bury her." His hand trembled on the doorframe. "I have the necklace," I whispered. That was the only sentence I needed. His eyes widened. A deep, haunted groan escaped his throat, and he stepped back. "Come inside." The interior was dim. Dust clung to every surface like regret. I noticed 3 locks on every door. Security cameras pointing inside. Like he was afraid of ghosts. He poured himself a drink with a shaking hand. "She wasn't crazy," he said finally, sitting in a leather chair that creaked with age and guilt. "She was brilliant. Too brilliant. She was about to blow the whistle on Philip's rehabilitation fund. Money funneled to silence women. Black women. Tech developers, whistleblowers, wives who knew too much. Renee got too close." He panicked. "You were the judge," I said, voice barely steady. "You signed the order that put her away." "I was paid." Threatened. "My son, he was in Philip's pocket too. They said they'd kill him if I didn't cooperate." He rubbed his face. "So I called her delusional. I locked her up. I killed her." I pulled out the locket and tossed it onto the table. "She lived long enough to get this out." His eyes filled with tears. "What do you want from me?" "Money. A confession." "I want the paper trail," I said. "I want every case you signed like hers. Every woman. Every lie. And then I want you to stand beside me when I burn Philip's empire to the ground." He was quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, Judge Keyes reached into the drawer of his desk and pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Everything," he said, sliding it toward me. "I kept it all. Out of guilt. Or fear. Or maybe hope that someone like you would come." I stood, heart pounding, hands shaking. "You're going to testify?" He looked up. "If I do that, I'm a dead man." "No," I said. "If you don't, you're already dead." And with that, I turned and left. I had what I needed now. It was time the world heard Renee's story. It was time everyone's secrets saw the light. But my story wasn't over yet. Because what I found buried in that file wasn't just about Renee. It was about me. I sat in my car in the woods just beyond Judge Keyes' estate, staring at the file like it was ticking. Because it was. Not with a bomb, no. But with something far more dangerous. Truth. I flipped it open and scanned through the contents, court documents, payment records, classified psych reports. Case after case, all women. all marked unstable, all silenced. But halfway through, a name made me stop breathing. Helen Price. Me. I froze. My hands went clammy. There was a folder, sealed with a red tab. Marked, Project Orbit, Echo Subject 6. I opened it. It wasn't about Renee. It was about me. Apparently, I wasn't just the sister digging for answers. I had been watched for years. Every move recorded. Every clinic visit. Every relationship. Philips Biotech subsidiary had tracked my genetic memory retention scores. I didn't even know what that meant, until I read more. According to the files, Renee and I were part of a covert experiment, testing memory manipulation, controlled trauma, and behavioral redirection. Conducted through a now-defunct program hidden under medical grants for trauma-impacted Black women. The clinic where Renee first broke down. Not a mental health center. A lab. They weren't trying to help her. They were using her. Using me. I slammed the file shut, heart roaring in my ears. That night, I called Andrew. Pack a bag, I said. Meet me at the old warehouse on 9th and Devon. Bring your camera. And your nerve. He didn't ask questions. He knew the tone in my voice meant one thing: war. By midnight, we were set up inside the warehouse. Judge Keyes arrived, pale and shaking. Behind him, 2 women. Faces I recognized from the files. Survivors. Silenced. Still standing. We turned on the camera. Began to record. The judge started first, confessing to every signature, every bribe, every lie. The women followed, their voices shaking as they recounted being drugged, manipulated, declared insane. And then, it was my turn. I stood in front of the camera. The locket pressed against my chest like a second heartbeat. My name is Helen Price, I said. And I was never supposed to tell this story. They watched me. They branded me. They thought I'd stay quiet because I was just a Black woman. Just a sister. Just a whisper. But I know everyone's secrets now. And I'm done hiding mine. I held up the file. And then I lit it on fire. Because I had copies. I had truth. But I wanted the world to know. They didn't own my story anymore. I did. The next morning, the video went live. Within hours, it hit 1 million views. Within days, subpoenas rained on Philip like fire. And within a week, Nathan Phillips' face was plastered across every news channel in America, with the headline: Whistleblower exposes elite experiment on Black women, justice demanded. But the real justice was walking into the courtroom 6 weeks later. In a navy blue dress, with Renee's necklace around my neck. And the whole world watching me now, not as a liar, but as the one woman they couldn't silence.